Okay. All right. Let me just get the right speaker view. See if I can do this. No. Okay. Yay. Oh my gosh. Hi, sisters. My name is Sarah Sullivan. For those of you who don't know me, I'm feeling super excited and super nervous to teach this for the first time. For any of you that have been on my list or following along in the Pussy Collective or know me, this is something that I have been requested for many years, over 10 years actually, to teach. And I have been in big denial of it because, I had a case of the who am I's, right? Who am I to teach this? I'm not a sexpert. I'm not a tantrika. I mean, of course, I think I could probably be more defined as those things nowadays. But for the years that many people have asked me, I just did not identify. I knew that I was a women's empowerment expert and guide, and I knew the whole woman, and sex was just a part of that, and pussy was just a part of that. And it was in the last couple of years that I had a massive transformation and awakening into the truth of actually who I am supposed to be in the realm of the women's empowerment movement, which has led me to the pussy service. I like to call it pussy ministry, that I now offer. And I'm not here to talk about that fully. I'll sprinkle it in. But that has led me to the place where now I feel more available and ready to share my wisdom on this very, very sacred topic. And you might hear that it's going to be a little bit different than what you might expect. But since I don't know what you're expecting, and again, I'm so excited to have you all here, like beyond thrilled.
Actually, no, because I got notes on the
I want to honor you.
Not funny.
Everybody for now.
All right, we're done. I can take this off. And then...
Okay. So I'm excited to have you here. I want to just say thank you for your courage to be here. And your willingness to explore this topic. As we're going to cover today, there's a lot of misinformation out there about this topic and a lot of myths. And we have an hour of content, and then I'm going to stay on the line another 30 minutes for any questions that want to be asked. So, 90 minutes total, but if you have to hop off at the top of the hour, go ahead and do that. And I'll stay on as long as you need for the 30 minutes afterwards to answer any questions that come up along the way. And, but before we begin, I would love to just take a few minutes to hear from some of you as to why you're actually here and what you hope to gain from this time, because there's a lot of reasons why you're here, and I'd love to put them into the cauldron, as I like to say. So I'm just going to unmute you all for a second. If you just want to say hey, and I'll try my best to make it organized. But so maybe like 3 or 4 of you to just share your name, where you're calling in from, and what has you here? Like, what is the curiosity or the interest that you have to be on this call? So you are all unmuted if anybody wants to share.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Susie.
Hi, Susie.
Hi, Bree. My name is Susie. I'm calling from Las Vegas, and I am here because, what was it, yesterday, Sarah, that we were talking about this? Feels like forever ago, but I was talking to Sierra about how there's just been so much programming, especially with women's pleasure, of how I personally feel like I'm very goal oriented when it comes to releasing my waters. Actually, not releasing my waters, just have orgasm, and it's just a very masculine approach, and I would like to explore this and go at it from a more feminine approach. So I'm here with you sisters to explore that and to debunk those myths.
Nice. Thank you. So happy to see you here, sister. Nice earrings.
I'm not wearing my earrings, but I love you ladies. So good to see your faces again. My name is Bree Summers, for those of you who don't know, and I'm here because I'm super interested in connecting more with Sierra, and I felt like Susie might be here and other women who were a part of the Ian Mastermind, and that's like one of the reasons, but also connecting deeper with the sisterhood. Just having this exchange of information and downloading each other on what our experiences have been sexually and with the female orgasm, because we've each had a different path within this very masculine system that we've been dealing with. And I definitely want to open myself up to, again, what Susie said, a more feminine approach to pleasure, and just pleasure for pleasure's sake, and not to get anywhere necessarily, or to get anyone else there necessarily, just to really enjoy and be present in the moment with this gift of pleasure in this body. So yeah.
Beautiful. Yay, Bree. Thanks for being here. Yay. Cool. Any other ladies? We got time for 1 to 3 more. I'm going to say hi while you're here.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey, it's Elizabeth. Hey, Sierra.
Hey.
Super excited to be here and to be a part of this whole process where you pulled this out of your bag a little while back. And echoing the other 2 women who have spoken, just like we all are coming from different places, but I'm so like present to the wanting to be in complete divine feminine and not do this from the way that we've been programmed to do, or the way that I've been programmed to do it, goal-oriented, driven, let's go, let's, make it happen. I am in the beginning of a new relationship right now, which is really exciting and incredible. And so it's just kind of timely. So I'm happy to be here and share with you guys.
Yay.
So,
Awesome.
yay.
Welcome, Elizabeth. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Yeah. And I'm in Belize right now, so if I get cut off, I'll be calling you for the recording.
Okay.
My internet's pretty spotty right now. So
Nice. Awesome.
Anyway.
Name from Belize.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anyone else want to just say a quick hello and why you're here?
Sure.
Cool.
My name's Burio, and I'm coming to you from Amos Lake in Canada.
Oh,
And
beautiful.
I'm here. Thank you. I teach sacred sexuality, sacred femininity, and I'm just really excited to connect with other like-minded sisters and see the work that you're doing, Sierra. And sometimes, I feel like I don't have a lot of other women to talk with about it, because the women who are coming to me that I'm working with, most of them, they don't know their bodies, right, in our Western world, and I didn't when I was younger. So it's just really nice to connect with another amazing woman who's powerful out there sharing around sacred sexuality. So I'm here to learn and open and to more.
Oh, thank you. Yay. Well, I look forward to cross-pollination and as these things unfold. And thank you for your sacred work. Oh, beautiful. Awesome. All right. I would love to hear from all of you, but I'm sure you all showed up to hear some stuff from me. Even though we could just open this up and have a conversation, probably get just as much out of it. But I'm going to do my best to share what I have to share and leave space again at the end for some Q&As. And I'm super grateful for all of you to be here. I'm going to just mute everybody again just to keep the lines a little bit quiet. Okay, cool. Oh, yay, we have Dakota Chanel just popped on. Another sacred sister on this path. Yay. All right, let's see if I can figure out how to get it in presentation mode on my end. So it's just going to record us all in our little boxes. So thank you. And so that some of you know, and I'm just going to say this now, the reason for this call is I realized that I'm actually offering a 2-part masterclass call next week and the week after called Unlocking Your Sacred Waters. And that's going to allow us to go much, much deeper on this topic as well as best as we can in a 2-part class, but at least dive in, deeper than we can here. But I also realized that this topic is still pretty taboo, considering that we're you know, we're in this day and age where there's such a major, beautiful new path that the feminine has woven together. And, you know, we're more powerful in so many ways of knowing who we are and our purpose and our sacredness than ever before. And yet this particular topic is still kind of in a box on a shelf. Although there's been many pioneers in the field doing their diligence. You know, I'm standing on literally the shoulders of so many amazing women and giants who have pioneered this work. And I just want to honor all of them, because without them and all of us really in all of our journeys, we wouldn't be here being able to talk about this. So really want to honor that. But today's call was really to get the pump primed, quite literally, and to just, you know, open up an introductory conversation for anybody that's a little bit curious. And of course, for those that, you know, sign on and take the 2-part class with me, this is also a good introductory, you know, it'll probably be a requirement to hear it, so I don't have to repeat some of the things I'm going to share here. And just another reason to get on with a group of women and talk about this amazing stuff. So, you know, the more we're talking about it and sharing and connecting and practicing in our lives, and it's just the magic we weave. It's really, really powerful. So I'm going to just quickly put the link to my class in the comments. And for those of you that, you know, can't stay on later, I just wanted to pop it out there in the field. It's my name, which is sierrajsullivan.com/sacred waters. And I'll also just say too that I really just want women on that call. It's on that class. It's only $99 as it is, but if you sign up and you want to bring a friend, awesome, right? Then it's only $44 each essentially. So if you feel called to take the class, sign up and then find a friend and then just email us the information and I'll share more about that at the end. Okay, so just want to take a moment before we dive into let's just close our eyes and feel ourselves here for a brief moment. Arriving, connecting with our breath. Right? You don't have to do anything with your breath. I just invite you to bring your awareness to your breath. Oh, the beautiful breath, right? All life is brought to you by breath, just like all life is brought to you by pussy. They're very connected. So feel your breath. Let yourself just breathe in and breathe out, arriving. And I also invite you to just notice and bring awareness into your sit bones and your sacred yoni, sitting on whatever you're sitting on, our root chakra. Just knowing what is underneath you, right? Whatever you're sitting on, a bed, a chair, the earth, a deck, anything. Feeling the support of whatever is underneath you, right? The solidness of that support. And I want to remind us all that that support is a physical support that is representing the way that we're actually supported on this planet, right? Whatever we're sitting on is on the floor. Whatever the floor is in the building or a house. Whatever the house is on Mama Gaia. So at any time we want to know and feel the support of the earth, we just have to tune into it, become aware that it's physically there, that we are Mother Earth. We are replicas of her magnificence. And we can just tap into that support. And when we can tap into that support and knowing of our connection to Mother Earth, we can feel the connection to all of the divine portals of life, all of the sisters around the world that are connected to us. I like to call it the pussy wet work, kind of like the pussy network. So let's just feel each and every one of us that's here, feel ourselves, feel our connection to Mama Gaia, and feel the connection to all women, the ones that are here and the ones that wish they could be here and the ones that don't even know that they want to be here, and so on and so forth. And let's just send some love from our sacred center. You can pull it up from the earth and then you can send it down from the earth. You can pull it down through your crown chakra and send it through the earth. However you feel called, whatever your path is of energy field flow, And I just invite us to send a ripple of love and sisterhood to all the women that want to feel what we are about to experience and know. And the gratitude for the collective of all the sisters awakening into their glory. And then I invite you to exhale out. And let's breathe in together. Inhale. And just release. And we're just going to do 2 more of that. Breathing in. Release with a sigh. And 1 more. Breathing in and seeing if you can hold it at the top. Hold it. See if you can suck in just a little more air. Hold it, hold it. Feel your chest, your breast, your whole body expand in that. And release with a sigh. And just take a moment to feel all that. Feel everything. Notice everything. And whenever you're ready, maybe come back into the space of us with a little wiggle and a shimmy. You can open your eyes. Yay. It's always good. Okay, ladies. So before I get to the myths, I just want to share a brief bit about who I am, which could take 3 days. I'm going to try to do it in 3 minutes. I'm actually going to set a timer for myself because I have so much to say that sometimes I tend to wax lyrically. I got stuff to share. Leave you me. So 10 years ago, actually 11 years ago, more than that actually, I think it was 12 or 13, it was a while ago, I started my foray into this work. Actually, it was probably more like 16 or 17 years, if I really, count it. And my first foray into this work was starting a magazine for women called The Ray. And The Ray was an acronym. At first, it was Reality in You, because I wanted to get real. I wanted to get real with women. I wanted real bodies represented and real conversations to be had and real, articles about real women. And then it grew into a new acronym, which was The Real Authentic You, which was super powerful. And along the way, that was my first business. I realized that just creating a magazine for women wasn't enough because you can read content, and even though it's inspiring, unless we're gathering together as women in conversation and having the experience of what that information can bring to us, then we're just giving lip service to it. And and going into the head, right? The head, which is so brilliant. We have come so far with our brilliance and our minds and our intellect. But really, the next frontier, the final frontier, the only frontier really is through knowing and connecting and listening to our bodies and becoming deeply acquainted with our bodies. So along that path, I was a little bit headstrong. I was in my early 20s. I'm now almost 44. And I took a marketing class because I was learning. This is when YouTube was just getting off the ground and, online things were starting to happen. It was really fascinating starting a print magazine in the realm of online growth. So it was a fascinating journey. And but I took a marketing class, and it was a video marketing class. And one of the things I was taught to do is just film everything. Just whatever's up, just share your story and then put it on YouTube. So one night I was hanging out at a bar after a women's networking event with a friend of mine. We were having a glass of wine, just having a chat, and these men were at the end of the bar, and I was like, are they going to hit on us? Like they were like giggling and pointing at us, and I'm like, what's going on? And so one of the men was brave enough to come up to me and ask me if I knew anything. He said, when women, they squirt, he was all nervous. I said, are you talking about female ejaculation? He was like, oh, yes. So I was like, oh boy, okay, boys, men, boys, pull up a chair. Let me share with you what I know. And at the time, I had been gifted the knowledge of this book through a woman that was involved in my magazine and the movement that the magazine had become. We were doing a lot of gatherings called Soul Sister Soirees back then. And she told me about this amazing book, which is something I highly recommend. You're going to get a lot more information than I can share with you through this book, which is one of the best books on female ejaculation. It's by Deborah Sundahl. Get it in the frame. And it's called Female Ejaculation and the G-Spot. And I'll put it in the chat in a little bit later. Oh, there's my timer. So to briefly wrap up, that story was so powerful in what I shared with the men, and you can watch the video and I'll post a link for that as well. But I decided to go home that night and film that, like just do a selfie video about that interaction, because it was so profound what happened and what I shared and what I realized I knew about this topic. And I was like, it was my first chance. Actually, it was my first chance to teach about it. Really, I taught these 3 men a whole new world. And hopefully, I never got their contact information, but hopefully they went home and pleasured their women, and that their women, got to gush their waters, and that it changed their lives. But it certainly changed my life. And I put that video online, and it started to just take off like gangbusters. And now, 11 years later, it's had a combination of the original video has almost 6.5 million views. So the only viral video I've ever done. And then I actually broke that video off and just created a new video, because I thought, well, I better monetize this. And the new video has almost 4,000 views after a couple of years. And this is without promoting anything, right? So this has been a hot topic that I have been requested to teach about, and I've never felt ready. And I think partially because I had to go through my journey, and I had to step into my realm as, basically a sacred pussy reclamation ritualist, pussy oracle, which is now my main thing. And I had to come in the right relationship with myself, and the world had to come in right relationship to be ready to receive this information from the place that I felt called to teach, and that you're going to hear me teach it from. Because these myths, which we're about to get to, are really in the way still. And there's, again, tons of great information out there, but a lot of not so great information, and a lot of confusing information about what this is, why we do it, and what's it made of, and how do you do it. And the one thing I want to say too, just to put a container around all of this, is while this call and the two-part masterclass will help you understand what's possible and how to do it, my mission is not to teach a cheap trick, right? My mission is not to be like, oh, you do this and then you ejaculate. And while you may learn that, I was hesitant to teach because I don't really know the technique. I just know what's required of us as women to awaken to our divinity, to then be more accessible to unlock our waters. And I believe that, which I'm going to get to in a minute, so I might be jumping ahead here, but I believe that the sort of, again, for lack of a better word, the sort of technique that's taught in many, many courses and programs that are out there. I mean, you can Google technique. There's a lot of people teaching technique. I find that it feels like a cheap trick to me. It feels like, oh, sure, we can extract the waters. But I'm interested in our sacred waters. And I'm interested in allowing them to flow from the deepest well of our choice and our divinity and our sacred selves. And that's the angle, that's the medicine that I bring to this conversation. So I just want to say that, since then and recently, there's been a huge surge of power and magical moments of this conversation. And I realized that I just can't deny it anymore. I have to speak about this. I have to teach what I know. And it'll resonate with who it resonates with, and it won't who it won't. And I'm hearing a little noise in the background. I have everybody muted, but if you aren't muted, if you're banging around, if you could please mute yourself. I'm not sure what's going on. So there's a lot going on right now in the field, and there's a lot going around this topic, and there's a lot of women bringing this information forth, some of them on this call, which I'm super, super thrilled about, because there is a real strong, solid sisterhood that is ready to bring this content and all the knowledge that we have to the forefront of this movement so that we can literally transform this planet. Because if you think about waters being locked up, like, you know, it's like a dry spell out in the world. Like patriarchy's like shriveled up our world. And if we can learn to come back into our center point of our pleasure and on our terms, in our way, because we really, really know the divinity of who we are as women, including our sacred portals, we can change the planet through our pleasure. Let's just feel that for a moment. It's so exciting. And there's so much I can say. So lots is happening. I just want to say lots is happening. And I can speak more to this at the end too. But there's a lot of signs that have been pointing to speak. So I'm speaking. Here we are. All right. The time is now. You and me, ladies, we're in the right place. And I can't wait to get juicy with you all. So let's get debunking these myths. All right. Myth number 1 is that female ejaculation is a myth, right? There's people that still are like, oh, no, that doesn't exist, or what? That exists. Like they don't even know that it's something that is possible for all of us. And I find that fascinating because what I've noticed in my study, both my actual study of books and reading and research, as well as my own personal experience with this, is that there isn't a lot of information still to this day on female anatomy. There's still missing parts to, you know, medical texts and things like that. And a lot of studies that have been done on women have been, you know, done by men. And so we're missing a ton of information out there that would have people realize that this is actually very real. And it is very real. And many women that I know on this call have experienced it, and myself included, and all women can. All women can. So, but here with the myth of it being a myth in of itself, because there's a lot of mystery about us ladies. We're very mysterious. The feminine has lots that we can learn about, and she's not all in the, you know, she's the unseen. Right? And that's why in this world of seen, and we value what we can touch and what we can plan out, we miss a lot of this mystery. And until we do the exploration on our own to discover and unearth these mysteries, it's going to seem to many people who are caught in the three-dimensional world, or as I like to call it, the matrix, you know, they're going to not believe some of this stuff. And then if we haven't ever been taught, well, I remember the first time back in high school when I was starting to have sex, I remember one of my boyfriends said, oh, I want you to come. And I remember thinking, girls don't come. It's like, I just had no idea, right? So we just don't know what we don't know. And so it's not a myth. It's very real. There's a lot I can share, and I will. So that's number 1. Let's see if I have anything else to say about that. Nope, I think I said it all. All right, number 2 myth. That only a few women can do this. And that's absolutely not true. Every single woman, well, there's a quote from Deborah Sundahl, who wrote this book. Female ejaculation is every woman's birthright because all women were born with the anatomical ability to ejaculate. We all have the parts. Some of us may not still have the parts because there may have been some surgeries or some situations or some health issues that may have removed various parts. One major surgery that I learned about just recently that has the possibility to impact your ability to ejaculate is that if you've ever had surgery for incontinence, they may have messed with that part of you, and it may make it more difficult. I don't know if it would make it impossible. I just want to make sure that you know that all of us were born with all the parts to experience the sacred act, as I like to call it. And I think I'm just even going to go so far as to say, because I love to be in the esotericness of all of this, is that maybe even if you don't have all the parts, there's still a possibility that you could go beyond the three-dimensional world and still have this experience. So if any of you are sitting here thinking, oh, that's me and I might not have the parts, well, you know, magic is magic. So, you know, I think anything's possible. I believe in a world beyond the world. And, you know, and even if it's not to physically ejaculate, there may be other things that may come from, I love come from, literally this conversation for you. And you may just access deeper ways of pleasure, regardless of whether any of you and any of this experience actually unlock or release your sacred waters. But I believe that it's possible for all of us. So let's just debunk that myth. Swoosh gone. Myth number 3 that I hear often, and there's even some really credible articles that I found online that actually say this, but then I've been actually reading other very credible research that's been done in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s that is counteracts what's been said recently. But the myth that I'm about to speak about is that it's pee, right? And this is a big one because that, I believe, has been the number one reason why many women shy away from actually allowing their waters to flow, because they either they don't know that it's possible, and then all of a sudden maybe it happens, and then they're like, whoa, and then they think it's pee, and then oops, excuse me for a second, and then they think it's pee. And sorry, somebody else is trying to log on to my line. I think it's my husband. I have to figure that out, but I'm staying on with you all. He can figure out a second line. So we think that it's pee, and it's a lot of water, and it does come from the urethra, and sometimes it can both have properties that are like urine, but it's not. And sometimes, and often, and this is where it kind of gets a little bit like, wait, but why isn't it pee? And if it comes from the urethra and it comes from that whole area, and to actually allow it to flow, will feel like you have to pee. And that's been, people are like, oh no, I'm going to pee, right? But that's actually what you need to embrace. And you know what? Even if you peed, so what? Like, really, so what? Like, sex is messy anyways. We're messy. Our emotions can be messy. The world is messy. Birth is messy. Like, who cares? Let's get messy. Let's give ourselves the permission to be messy and explore it regardless of whatever comes out or doesn't come out. That's something I really want to give permission to everyone here in their exploration, because so what? Like, peeing in some worlds is a fetish. So you know what? Like, just let your waters flow however. And if you feel like you gotta pee, most likely it's not going to be pee. It's going to be your Amrita. And if you pee a little, so what? So let it flow, let it go, let it flow. Now, there is a lot of information about what it actually is. As I mentioned, it comes from the urethral sponge, which most, they found out, they call it the G-spot. And the G-spot is a version of the female prostate. And there's a lot of like capillaries and vessels in there. Vessels, I like that word. And it can come from, there's studies that show that it actually comes from our blood, that it's actually the serum, the watery serum of our blood. And when we get aroused and our blood starts pumping, it's extracting the water from our blood. And that's how it can be so much and just keep coming and coming and coming and coming. And be, you could fill up buckets. I think I've never filled up buckets, but it feels like soaking. It's just a soaking experience. And I also want to say to you, and this is something that I'm looking to do some experimental research on. I'm not a scientific person, but I'm looking to gather a scientific team, and I'm not quite sure. And I actually just read that there are people that have done this, so I'm going to dig further into that, because maybe I don't have to be the one to do this. But I also believe that we as women hold an alchemical magic in our sacred pleasure that allows us to transmute what might seem or potentially come out more like urine to sacred Amrita, to sacred nectar. Amrita means nectar, literally nectar of the goddess. It's a Sanskrit word. And I believe, based on my own experimentation with this, is that obviously different times of the month, and I've read about this, so different times of the month will give it different properties, of course, right? You're in different phases and lots is going on. And so it can come out smelling a little bit more strong, or not smelling like anything at all, or smelling musky, or like there's all different ways that it comes out. And for a while, mine would come out and it would have properties of urine. And I thought, oh my gosh, I've lost my ability to release my sacred waters. I started to get nervous. And then when I started reading about it, I'm like, oh, no. That's just, there's different phases, different stages. And what I also believe I'm about to say is that I believe that the more we literally surrender to our own pleasure and not try to force it out, which is what Susie was referring to, right? Forcing, being goal-oriented, forcing the orgasm, tightening up, trying to push too hard, all the ways that, you know, at least for me and some women I've talked to tend to do when we're having any sort of sexual interaction with our bodies, can possibly change the molecular makeup of Amrita. And I think that if we're willing, and the one thing that's really big to experience this is the act of surrender, right? It takes a lot to surrender into our own pleasure as women. A lot of times we're way up here in our heads. We're just learning how to become more embodied. We're just scratching the surface of loving our pussies, you know, of listening to our pussies and our wombs. I mean, this is kind of new. It's been around. It's not new, but it feels like it's a more prevalent conversation in the field. And so the more that we can actually surrender to our pleasure and be in just our own bliss, not trying to force, not trying to do, I believe that it literally creates alchemy in us to change the structure of what comes out. And to not judge it either way, right? Like, I haven't achieved all of the like surrender that I would like to. I'm still working on that. And sometimes I do. And sometimes I'm better and sometimes I'm not. And sometimes I'm in my head and sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm listening to my pussy and sometimes I'm not, right? I think we can all relate. It's a journey, not a destination. And the more we can just tune in and be somatically aware of what's happening and trust our bodies and trust our divinity, trust our pussies, trust our wombs, trust our anatomy, trust our pleasure, awaken to more of our pleasure, invite more of our pleasure, we're going to be able to have more of the sacredness. Actually, the properties will be infused in the waters. And it's sacred regardless. I truly believe that. And I think that we as women can actually add to the potency of the sacredness, of the power that comes out of our fluid when we're in these more relaxed, feminine states of pleasure. Also, you know, one thing I learned recently, I've had the beautiful gift of being witness to a dear friend of mine. I live in a community home, and one of the women I live with went from being pregnant to having her baby to, you know, the baby's now almost 2. And it's a close, I'm not a mother of a child in this lifetime. I'm a mother to many other things. But to witness that front center was such a gift for me. And to find out, and some of you may already know this, but the power of breast milk. I learned that breast milk, which is another sacred fluid of our bodies, just like our blood and everything else, our sacred moon blood, can literally, can literally sense what the baby's needing. The baby's out in the world. It's, you know, learning to adapt to all the environmental toxins and stimulates and, you know, bacterias and everything else in between. And when the baby comes back to breastfeed, the mother's body knows what is needed and produces antibodies for the baby to keep the baby healthy. I mean, that's like what a miracle our bodies are, that our bodies know intuitively what the baby has picked up from the world and then able to give the medicine from our breast milk to the baby to have the baby be more fortified. That's something. And when I heard that, I'm like, oh yeah. So that really explains a lot around what I've been feeling and believing and experimenting with around our sacred waters. So depending on what's going on, we'll change the structure, right? You can't not, right? We have our environment feeds us. We feed our environment. It's all one and the same. And we have these miraculous bodies that can do so many amazing things. It's just, so good. So it's not pee. Don't worry about it. And if you do pee a little, that's okay. And all that in a bag of chips. All right. Myth number 4. It's like a man's ejaculate, right? Just the term ejaculate alone, right? When we think of ejaculation, what we know the most about is male ejaculation, right? The seed of life. And that's not what it is for us women. That's not what it looks like. That's not what it feels like. It's not what it comes out like. Sometimes there can be something a little bit similar, and that is a form of ejaculation as well. I'd like to change the word. I don't have a better word at this moment. You know, gushing, you know, releasing. I mean, sacred waters is my favorite word. But it's not ejaculation like men ejaculate. In fact, you know, I mean, I'll say in some ways it can be because it is related to our prostate. So there's similar, like when there's studies done, there's similar fluid in there like men, because theirs is also related to their prostate, but ours is wet and slippery like water. And in fact, if so much comes out, it can actually, I've experienced, dry out your pussy a little bit because it's like a cleansing. It cleanses. And what I've recently learned as well is that the idea behind why we ejaculate and the glands that are, necessary for that is it was a way to, like our sinuses and our throat, a way to actually protect that opening from infection. So it's to protect us and to, I think, transform the world with our sacred waters. But we'll get to that a little bit later on and in my course, more in my course. But it's very different from even vaginal lubrication. It's very different than even our ovulation lubrication. It's wet. it's thin. It's watery. And I want to say that the way we feel when we release our waters, and each of you may have your own experience. Like I'm mostly speaking from I'm 99% speaking from my own experience, and then the 1% from what I've read and what I've heard from others. So, you may experience something different, but in how you feel when you ejaculate, if you ejaculate, or release your waters, rather. It's very different. Like where a man releases his ejaculate, that's his orgasm, typically, unless he's learned to ejaculate and have a full body orgasm, which is still pretty rare in many men. And it's a tricky thing from what I've understood. But when we release our waters, it doesn't always come with the kind of climactic orgasm that some of us are used to, which is the clitoral orgasm. The one that's really peak and like really intense and can send waves of pleasure through our body. And there's many other orgasms, but that one is probably the most popular because it tends to be the most pleasurably intense and feels the most like a masculine ejaculatory experience, or masculine orgasm rather, because we have the amount of like, and then release, and then, even though we can keep going after that where they get tired, it does give us that sense of like, afterwards, you know what I mean? And I'm not here to teach you to be anything like a man, right? Like we're here to be our goddess selves, our divinity as women. And the way that waters can come out may not feel like any orgasm at all at first. When I first started ejaculating, it was like, oh, I just gushed. Wait, how did I feel? Wait, is there an orgasm? Wait, why am I all wet? Oh my gosh, I did it. Wait, I was confused because I thought it was like this mind-blowing, like orgasmic, and the waters flow and everything's so great and right? I mean, just like the woman on her cover, I thought I'd look like that. Maybe I did. I don't know. But it didn't feel like that. And I realized, I can release my waters separate from the kind of orgasm that I typically go for, goal after, as Susie said in the beginning, the one that we all really, love the most, I think. And so, but then I quickly realized that it still feels good. It still feels like a sacred release, and it feels yummy. And you can pair it with other orgasms. So the more you experiment, the more you play with it, it can be paired together. And I eventually learned how to bring the release of my waters into alignment with my orgasm, the intense clitoral orgasm. And now I basically almost hardly ever can have a clitoral orgasm without the release of my waters. I can still have a release of my waters without the orgasm, the clitoral orgasm, but I rarely can have a clitoral orgasm without the release of my waters. It does happen occasionally, to the much disappointment of my husband. He likes to judge the man goal-oriented, right, by the towel underneath me, like when he drops it to the floor, how much does it thud? And he feels very accomplished by that. But no pressure, I'm like, hey, sometimes I'm like, I don't know if I want any waters to come out, but we have a lot of props that we use to keep the water from spilling everywhere. Let's see, what else I want to say about that. Oh, one very important thing, and I've touched upon it, but one of the things that I truly feel is the most important along this path is reverence of our sacred portal, our actual pussies, our yonis, our flowers. And I believe that in order to truly bring the medicine that this sacred ejaculate, the sacred waters can offer to the planet, to ourselves first and to the planet, we have to be in right relationship with the channel that it's flowing through. And if we have any shame or any feeling of like disconnect or feeling, overly sexualized, because I believe pussy has been way overly sexualized and way overly shamed, both in our culture for far too long. And there are many, many women, possibly some of you, who've never even really connected with your pussy at the level that's possible, possibly never even looked at your pussy at the level that's possible, and don't even know the amount of powerful and profound information that the pussy holds for your life. I mean, I'm a pussy oracle because when I do my sacred reclamation rituals for women, I started to see a map to our life purpose in our pussy. Like, just why wouldn't we, right? We got palmology, we got iridology, we got Chinese face reading and a bunch of other things. Why wouldn't our pussies have that information encoded in it? And they do. And I do reading after reading after reading with women where I actually see their storyline and I see their practices that are needed, and I see, their connection to other realms and dimensions and their power and who they are as women on this planet and other planets, and it's wild. So it's a little digression, but what I want to say is that we need to come into right relationship with the majesty and the divinity of our pussies. No matter what we think they're supposed to look like, no matter what we think they do look like, for us to love every ounce of the petals of our vulvas and our inner labias and our outer labias and our clit hoods and all that's there, and our pubic hair, everything that's there has a purpose and has information and has a story to tell. And whether they're all still there or they're not all still there for whatever reason, your pussies are beautiful and just so just divine. What I've been seeing, and no two pussies are alike. No two pussies are alike. Not one, not two, not three, none. None are alike. They're all as unique as you are, unique as a snowflake, unique as a flower. And for us to really get that, because there is no better than, or this, culture is culture. This culture is going to shove whatever they shove in our face, and it's up to us to transform that for ourselves and for each other and for this planet. So I believe that coming into right relationship, while not fully required to have a gushing water experience, is a huge part of allowing that experience to flow more easily and allowing that experience to be as potent and majestic and magical as it can be. So, there's a lot I can say on that and offer you. And if you're curious, just reach out to me and we can talk, or I can post something somewhere. I'll tell you where I'll be posting stuff later. So that's a big thing. Okay. And myth number 5. Actually, I already talked about that. I roped in 4 and 5. Myth number 5 is that it's as powerful as a clitoral orgasm in its sensation. So let me see if I missed saying anything. I think I said about all that. No, I think I covered all that. Let me just check my notes and see if there's anything missing that I didn't share. I think that's mostly it. I may have said this, it's worth repeating. There's a couple of healers that I've known over the years, and they're really good at a technique that can extract the waters. And I've talked to some women who've experienced their work, and I love them dearly, and I believe their work is an important part of the transformation of this planet. But I find myself recoiling and feeling like, just contracting around when some of their clients who are friends of mine would share with me what it was like. And most of these healers have been men. So, we love them for doing this sacred work. And I also want to say that there's a big difference between, as I mentioned previously, being able to extract your waters and being able for you to allow your waters to be given. There's actually a big difference. And while it might feel like an accomplishment, right, the masculine, to be able to get your waters extracted from you by a specific technique or a certain healer or a modality, there's something to be said about us owning our power, us knowing when we're ready and when we desire to release our waters, us knowing what our bodies feel like and need, and the safety and the container and the experience of feeling the spaciousness with a lover or ourselves to allow our waters to flow. And I feel really passionate about that, because otherwise, what are we doing, right? We're just like doing it for the sake of some goal, some achievement, okay, I've got bragging rights to say I've done this now, but it's at the loss of our own power to basically have command over our own gates, our own portals, and our own waters. And so I really invite you ladies, wherever you're at in your journey, whatever you've experienced thus far, to really reclaim your own sacred waters for yourself. And if you've ever had an experience where it felt like it got extracted from you because of, there's a technique that is taught out there that can literally have you gush, but it comes at a price, I believe. It comes with sometimes some trauma. And that's not what I'm doing here. That's not my mission or my goal or my desire. And forget the goal, my desire for any of you. I want you to be sovereign beings of your body and know yourself so well and be able to connect so deeply to all parts of you that you are able to allow your waters to flow on your terms, in your pleasure, because you desire it for whatever reasons you desire it, not because somebody said they could do a cheap little pony trick on you and get you to squirt. So just be mindful of that information that's out there and be mindful of exploring that. And again, if that's your jam, like by all means, like have at it. There's no judgment. And my big mission is to literally, it's funny because, you know, as soon as I tell anybody in the world that I'm a pussy oracle or I help women reclaim their pussies, I often get put into the category of sexuality. And even talking about orgasms, right? What other category would you put me in, you know, or Amrita? But my work, literally, again, it's not my work, it's my service, my ministry, my mission is to literally take sexuality out of the equation long enough, because again, we've been overly sexualized. We've been living in a patriarchal framework. And so we have a lot of real interesting relationship to sexuality, and we're just beginning more so now to awaken to all the pioneers that have taught before and come before to a new way. And it comes with being able to speak up for ourselves and our pussies and our bodies, and not just go along to get along. And when I say I take sexuality out of the mix long enough, because I don't want this to be a sexual thing, because that comes with all of the codes of the unhealthy sexuality that we've been fed for centuries. So my mission is to awaken us to the reverential nature of these acts, of our sacred fluids, of our portals, of our wombs, of our bodies, of ourselves and ourselves, and to then allow ourselves to know ourselves and ourselves at that level. So then when we do layer back on the sexuality piece, we're coming from our wholeness, not anything that's been spoon-fed or told to us, anything that does not serve us. That's what I'm most here to offer all of you, is the wholeness within the sovereignty of yourself. So yeah, so I'm gonna stand for that. And I love sex, and I love sexuality, and I love sensuality, and I love playing around with all this. And I know for my own journey, I had to get right with myself and my pussy before I could even begin to have the kinds of experiences that I now have. And I think that while we can get there without that, and we have hundreds, if not thousands of years of being able to get places sexually without this, I'm seeing through the pussy portal, as I do these readings, that pussy is literally calling on me and many of you to speak on her behalf. And what she's saying is that no longer can we be irreverent in this area. Like, it's gotten us where it's gotten us, and we're all kind of tired of that. You know, we have rape culture, we have a Me Too movement, we have, you know, lots of ways that we have been dishonored. And we as women have to honor ourselves first before anybody else can honor us. It's not going to change out there. It has to change in here. And to come back into our own selves and loving every ounce of everything that's going on here deeply, unconditionally, while finding the awe, literally, when you see another woman's pussy displayed on a worship altar and you get to see the power of her magnificent flower, it's life-changing. It's life-changing. I mean, I've been in the women's empowerment field for 16 plus years. And in the last 2-3 years, when I've focused in on pussy as a reverential, beautiful, beautiful piece of our bodies that is worthy of worship, there's a massive change that happens in a woman when she gets that. I mean, just think about it, right? Like, pussy is rarely ever just worshipped. there's usually, you might get worshiped by your lover and eventually your lover's going to want to touch her or get, pleasure her or be pleasured by her. You go to a doctor, the doctor's poking and prodding at you. You're on your moon cycle, you're having to pay attention, but you're having to put things in or take things out or clean her up. Like, where is she just on display with loving women and loving eyes in her magnificence? Just like us. If you've ever all been to a women's circle, and I bet most of you have in some form, the power of being witnessed in a circle without trying to be fixed or told what to do, but just to share yourself is massive medicine, right? Like, we can be going from a meltdown and life is horrible to sit in a women's circle, just be witnessed, just be heard, just be loved, and life changes, right? That's alchemy, right? We're like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. Well, why wouldn't our pussy want the same thing? And where does she get that? It's a very rare place that she gets that. It's very rare. So that's where I'm coming from, and I desire for all of you. And there's lots of things I offer around that place. But yeah, that's my main thing. So in closing, and again, we'll stay on for 30 minutes more at the top of the hour for Q&As. Love to answer any of your questions. I also love to do a thing at the end called favorite frames. So a little nugget that you heard. So even if you don't have a question, if you just want to stay on and share something that you really just hit you and you resonated with, that you want to reflect back, it's always really yummy. It helps us all digest all the information that just got shared. But basically, let's see, because I could go on and on about this topic and how many topics. But for those of you that are desiring more of this and you want to get the full transmission, please register for my class. It's going to be a week from today. It starts. It's next Tuesday, the 14th, which is, it's actually going to be at noon Pacific, and it's a 2-hour, so noon to 2. And then the following week is the second part of the class, noon to 2, the following Tuesday. And that link, again, is in the chat at sierrajsullivan.com/sacred waters. And I want to remind you that if, it's $99, and if you want to sign up and bring a soul sister, girlfriend, friend, whoever with you, just sign up, and then you guys can split it, figure that out, and just send me her contact information so I can add her. And I would need that by Monday at noon so that we can make sure that she gets all the emails to be prepared for the class, including probably watching this, because this will be helpful to know. Yeah, so that's that. And then, if you're not going to take the journey with me there, totally fine. There's lots of books that you can explore. There's lots of places you can learn about this. But one place that I'd love for us all to gather virtually, continuously, is my Facebook group, which is called the Pussy Collective. And I will put the link to the Pussy Collective in the chat as well. But on that group, every Monday, I do a thing called Moon Day Musings. And I talk a lot, and there's a lot of already 12 episodes that I've done that I give a lot of the story of this and the magical, I like to call it the Da Vinci Code of Pussy, that I've been on since I said yes to actually stepping toward this calling and this ministry. So that's a great place to share and to connect with other women and to hear more of my wisdom and my offerings and whatever else, and to post your stuff. So, and that's probably going to be the group where the Sacred Waters class will continue to have the dialogue. I don't know if I'm going to start a separate group for that, because there's already so many Facebook groups. So Pussy Collective, you can also search for it. It's searchable on Facebook. But I'd love for you all, if you're not already in there, to come and play with us and converse and share your wisdom and whatnot there. And then lastly, before we go into Q&A and favorite frames, as I mentioned, I'll put it in the chat as well. The major book that I really love is Female Ejaculation and the G-Spot by Deborah Sundahl. Epic book. She's like one of the godmothers of this movement. It's like so well articulated on every level. And she still teaches classes, actually. So she's an amazing woman to know. And then there's another book that I also love that has a lot of this anatomy, and that is A Woman's Anatomy of Arousal by Sherry Winston. So I'm putting that in the chat as well. So those are two really, really, really good books. Actually, I'll tell you about this one too. This one isn't so much about our anatomy or our sexuality, but this book totally changed my understanding of how to connect with and receive pleasure, and where I have been blocking pleasure. And I just don't mean sexual pleasure. I mean any type of pleasure in life. And this is an amazing book. It's called The Pleasure Zone, and it's by Stella Resnick. So I will put that in here as well. The Pleasure Zone Stella Resnick. So if you want to get your read on and get your scholarly ways about you, those are some really good books. So 1:59, I did it with a minute spare. Woohoo! Very unlike me. No, I'm prompt, but I got a lot to say. So I'm going to open the lines for any comments, questions. Again, a favorite frame, if there's something that just resonated deeply, we can share, and I'll just stay on for the next 30 minutes or until we're done. I mean, until we're done in the next 30 minutes. I have something to get to after that, but 30 minutes to just jam on this. So I'll unmute you all, and if you are in a bit noisy area, please just mute yourself so I don't have to manage that, and I'll just hit unmute. All right, the floor is open.
Do you have a sense of how you, like, what the next step is for you?
Who's that speaking? Just say your name so I know. Is that somebody asking a question, or were they just speaking?
You can live with it for tomorrow.
Oh, somebody's, I think somebody's talking
Okay.
to somebody else. All right, let me go on mute. Oh, did I unmute you all? Oh yeah, you're unmuted. Okay. Any questions? And if not a question, a favorite frame, anything that you received from this transmission that you're excited about.
Yeah, I just want to share. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yep. Hey, Bree.
Okay. Hi. Well, what a beautiful download. Thank you so much. First of all. Second of all, I really, I've had a huge challenge in my ability to excrete Amrita and like let that flow, in thinking that it was pee, and like actually doing research and finding both views of like, no, it's Amrita, no, it's pee, and like it has the same consistency and makeup as urine and comes from the urethra, like you're saying. And so it was really confusing for me, and so it's really reassuring to be part of this call and hear that, you know, it's not pee, even if it might have similar makeup at times depending on what you're in. Yeah, I've had a long journey with that, and even the men I'm with thinking it's pee, and so like maybe not appreciating what a gift it is, as much as could be appreciated. Yeah, and also the fear of making a mess. Like, you really opened up the gateway for me of like, maybe I don't need like 20,000 towels every single time, you know. And you know, and there's the use of like the pads that have rubber on the inside. My friend, who's also a priestess, she works with snake medicine and belly dance and all of this. She has these epic pads that have rubber on the inside, and it's like velvet on the outside. So those are a great tool, especially if you're traveling and want to have pleasure.
Is that Venus Mat or a different company? Is that Venus Matters?
We say
Venus Matters, the Venus Mat?
I don't know if it's the Venus Mat, but I'm sure it's like a similar vibe.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to ask her because I can't remember.
Share about it in the Pussy Collective when you find out. That'd be great to know.
Sure. I will. So I just want to say thank you, and I, you know, I needed that reassurance for the next time I do connect with someone and want to let it flow and have that fear of like, well, it's pee. Like, no, it's not pee. It's sacred as fuck. Yes. All right. I love you. I'm going to mute myself.
Thank you. Awesome. Anyone else have anything to share or add in, or favorite frame or question?
Sure, Sierra, I would love to. I've got a question and a favorite frame. Favorite couple frames. I don't know the woman's name who just spoke, but I love that reminder of permission to be messy, and that, yeah, birth is messy, or life is messy, and when we're really just surrendered in that. The other frame that I really loved is, I've been intending to have, I live in Paradise here by the lake, to have a women's, I'm calling it Sacred Yoni Temple Gathering, and I wanted to have where we created altars in front of our yonis and witnessed each other. And, you know, where I'm living, I'm the only crazy wild woman doing that. So first of all, it's beautiful to feel, yes, okay, there's somebody out there doing what I'm doing. And then also, and I was able to deepen that. So when you mentioned how as women, sometimes we want to just be seen and witnessed and not fixed. And I went, oh my God, that's so beautiful to connect with that with my yoni and our yonis as women collectively, that, yeah, we just want to be witnessed and seen as beautiful and unique and not entered or touched or anything, just like you said, like a beautiful flower. And it just moved me. And so it inspires me to continue to do the work that I'm doing.
Yes, sister, we need you.
And then I guess my question is, I'm curious if yourself or any other women have experienced the Amrita with their own self-pleasuring, or if it's only been with penetration with a partner. For myself, I've only been able to experience it with another, but not alone with myself. So that's my question.
Yes, there's two women I know specifically who are here on this call. If you want to, either of you, Lori or Dakota, to unmute and share your experience with that.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So I just feel like Amrita is always evolving. It keeps changing. When I look at what it was like at the beginning, it was one way, and then it kept changing. So what my Amrita is like now is vast and gushing, and that's with a tool toy that is designed for that. So I followed Deborah's suggestion of figure it out yourself first. It's most important that you know how to do it. And I had some not very great tools to start with, and I felt very frustrated. But finding, we call it the Amrita serpent, which I'm going to be sending one to you when I have the right color. Yeah, it's changed everything. So I can put, my friend sells them, so I can put that in the chat or whatever.
Perfect. They're on the Pussy Collective again.
Yeah, there you go.
Perfect. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Lori.
Sure.
Dakota, do you want to add anything?
Hi, love. So enjoyed this call. Thank you so much for sharing all this beautiful wisdom. And yeah, I can really relate. I actually, I wasn't able to ejaculate myself until a couple years ago. I'd always only been able to with a partner. And I actually was going to do an Amrita orgasm photo shoot. And I'm like, gosh, I need some Amrita to offer to the ocean for this photo shoot. So I'm like, I should just give it a try. And I was able to do it, and it was really magical. And I feel like what was the key in being able to do it myself was like really being turned on, but then also finding the right angle and finding the right rhythm. And yeah, it's definitely something that's a little bit hard to explain, but for myself, it really worked when I was lying on my back and then also squatting, which is kind of a strange position, but I found that I could, it was really good just with my hand, like a really nice angle. So yeah, it's a little insight I have.
Nice. Thank you, Dakota. Thanks for your beautiful presence and voice and sacred work in the world, both you and Lori. And I just want to shout out to my two Amrita sisters here. Lori actually has a live workshop up in the Bay Area coming up this Saturday. There's some information in the Pussy Collective about that. And Dakota has a beautiful free gift offering on her website, which is her name, dakotachanel.com, where she offers basically PDF, some videos, and all her knowledge about how to actually have sacred Amrita orgasms. So check them both out, and you resonate with me, resonate. And I say take advantage of all of our wisdom. Like we're all co-creating this together, ladies. So check those ladies out. They're my soul sisters. Awesome, nice. Anybody else? Any questions or favorite frames? Quiet little bunch here.
Well, I think my favorite frame was around it. Of course, it's not like a male ejaculate. Like, duh. But I think we've talked about my theory about the burning times, and that was one of the things that men took away from us is our waters.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. It's beautiful. It's so true. It's just like the ways that we've been shut down and locked down, and even, turned into kind of men with pussies in many ways for many years. And what we've all had to move through to come back into our own femininity, however that looks, at whatever level, and reawaken the sacred ancient mysteries as really legit ways of being, right? So, yeah. Thank you, Lori. Beautiful. Good frame. Anyone else? We don't have to stay on for we can wrap it up. So just.
Hey, I'm in a wind tunnel here, so I don't know if it's too noisy, but.
So far, so good.
Okay, good. Yeah, so I think my favorite frame was where we were talking about how sacred it is. Like, I have a 15-year-old daughter, and so I teach her I'm trying to teach her, like, how sacred sex is, but not, we come from a culture where, private parts are private and you don't show those and we don't talk about she didn't grow up that way. I mean, she's like naked 90% of the time in the house, and, she's like really comfortable with her body and like, it's all good. But, societally, it's like, cover that shit up. Don't let anybody see it unless you're doing that thing. And so I came from a point of view with her, like, that thing is sacred, but not your physical, your yoni is sacred. Like, put that shit on an altar and worship it. Yes. I'm like a great big yes, exclamation point. Yes. Like, I don't know. There was like shift that happened for me right there. So yay, thank you.
Yeah. You're so welcome. What a beautiful frame.
Yeah.
Another beautiful sister that's on this call, Erin Delaney, who's a dear friend of mine, and we live together. She does a lot of beautiful work with moms and teens around these topics. And we've been talking about, although I don't know when it'll happen, but doing sacred initiation rites for young girls to have a pussy reclamation ritual, birthday parties after their moon, like whatever, like, and initiating so they really, young girls, so they really get the profoundness of that part of themselves, and then they can make a choice from there before they even go down that road.
Exactly. Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. And where we live is a very conservative sort of Bible Belt-ish area. And so, like, for her, I mean, she's traveled all over the world with me, so she's not stuck in that. But just, I don't know, it's going to help me go back and speak with her in a different way than I have in the past. So thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome.
So yay. Yeah.
It warms my heart.
And she'll be the partner that comes on the call with me when I sign up for your class.
Oh, yay!
Yeah.
That's so exciting.
So she'll probably freak out a little bit about it to start with, but she'll be good.
That's good. Well, you can send her through my Secrets of the Universe class, which is online.
Okay.
And
yeah,
open her up a little bit to the conversation. I think it's an easy stepping stone to have her become more in awe of this topic and pussy and all of this stuff. So.
Perfect. It's wonderful. And it's such perfect timing for her as well, because she's just taken herself on an extremely accelerated pace through high school. She just graduated at 15.
Wow.
And she was in her freshman year, and she was like, nope, done, I'm out. And so she's doing a 9-day rites of passage wilderness trip this summer.
Oh, wow.
And so this is a whole nother layer, and level for her to.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. Well, her pump is prime, so this is beautiful.
It is. Oh, it is. It's gorgeous.
Glorious mother-daughter
Thank you.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, perfect.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
Yeah. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, Erin Delaney. Speak of the angel.
I've been in and out a little bit because the connection in the house. So it's really fun to be back in when we're talking about this, my great passion. So I have a 19-year-old daughter as well. So I love that a lot of us have daughters. And are determined to do it a different way. I think I'm just going to say in a nutshell of, first of all, it feels fabulous. And to hear you amazing women raising your daughters in sexually empowered ways. And I think that's such a freaking important piece of what's going to transform so much, like so much. Like, I'll just say in a nutshell of the difference of, we so much sex education is on what to fear, what to avoid, what to be careful for, what to say no to. It's like, what are they saying yes to though? Like, there's a whole other side of it that still most of us are afraid, or I was initially afraid to talk about. It's like, meaning parents, moms, of like the incredible joy of it, and of course the Amrita, and we're all just starting to get to know more about now. And so I just love hearing this. What a group of really powerful women here. It's yummy. Thank you, Sierra and Lori and Dakota and all of us.
Woo-hoo! Sisterhood. Thanks for being here, Erin. Thanks for your work in the world. Beautiful. Well, unless there's any other last desires, frames, or burning questions, or we can go on with the next rest part of our day. Well, awesome. Well, I honor every single one of you for being here, every one of you that might be watching this later in the recording. Thank you for your courage once again to be here, for your willingness to explore your own sacred divinity and sexuality, and for all the ways that we can play together in the near future. So I look forward to at least seeing many of you, if not all of you, in the Pussy Collective, and hopefully many of you next week when we do our maiden voyage of unlocking our sacred waters. All right, everybody, have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your day and week and weekend and all that, and we'll see you somewhere soon. Lots of love. Mwah. Bye.